This is the help video for activity B for the Carbon Cycle Gizmo. You should be pretty familiar with how to use the gizmo by now. If you didn't do the warm-up or activity A, go back and do that. This one's talking more about fossil fuels. As the year goes on now, especially after this, we're going to talk a lot about humans and our interactions with the earth and what they do. Fossil fuels are a huge part of this. All right. Fossil fuels help us get our energy. It says coal, oil, natural gas, they are formed over millions of years from the remains of ancient plants and animals. The carbon that is in fossil fuels, that's in the oil, in the natural gas, in the coal, that carbon is from the decomposition and compression of previously living things. That carbon is now an energy source when it gets super smushed and decomposed. And the way it decomposes determines whether or not it's oil, gas, or natural gas, or coal. So also what type of living thing it is determines that. We'll learn more about that later. Now this gizmo wants you to check out how human activity affects the carbon cycle. So here they want you to use the gizmo and click around to determine how coal and petroleum, which is oil, are formed. They will describe the steps required to form each fuel from atmospheric CO2. So for coal, I'll show you how they want you to do this. You start in the atmosphere, make sure you reset. And they want to know how it can form into coal. So you're going to have to click around a lot until this coal sink, until that coal sink lights up. So I'm going to go, we start land plants. So look, after land plants, CO2 gets absorbed by plants, becomes glucose and plant parts. Now animals can eat it, it can burn up, it can die and turn to soil, or it can go straight to coal. Click the coal. Now don't just get stuck here. Remember, you have to summarize how it went from the atmosphere to the coal. So when you click land plants, the process of photosynthesis, summarize it. You can say here, photosynthesis turns the carbon from carbon dioxide as a gas into glucose and plant parts. Then, as that material accumulates in swamps, it gets buried, compressed, and heated, and turns into coal. Boom, done that one. Now do the same for petroleum. You're not going to get it the first time, maybe. Whereas petroleum, they say that is oil. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to figure out what path the atmospheric CO2 takes till it gets here to petroleum. Ocean? No, we don't have it yet. Marine plant life? Sediments? Then it can go to petroleum. That's a lot of steps, so you're going to have to summarize those, explain it. All right, that's what that wants you to do. Now I want you to do the same thing. Find 2 ways that the natural gas forms. All right, same thing as above, but just a different natural gas. And they want you to explain why they're similar, number 1 and 2. All right. And then while you're clicking around and you see, and you end up getting the petroleum or coal, it'll actually tell you they're extracted from wells, they're compressed and heated. Over millions of years, petroleum and natural gas are formed. If it doesn't explain to you what it's used for here, feel free to search up Google to find out where these things are used. Also, figure out what happens when these things get burned. For example, if we're here at petroleum, well, the lithosphere is the earth, so that won't burn it, but a car would burn it. Petroleum is refined into gasoline and other fuels, mainly used for transportation. Where can it go after that? It can only go to the atmosphere. So, when it's asking you where do they go when they're burned, well, at least for petroleum, that's going to go back to the atmosphere. Now hit reset and try it for the other ones. And the rest of these are essentially more of the same kind of thing that we've been doing, but just different topics. All right, how do land animals create methane? Make sure when you're clicking, you're reading, and you're getting these. I'm not going to help you too much with those because you should be able to do these on your own by now. If you have any questions, just ask.